3 or 4 or 5 months ago, he said, Ron, next June, that's the time. So I've been an investor for 4 or 5 years, made relatively modest return. And then he says, next June, that's when everything comes together.
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Guys, girls, seriously, that was the whole point of the video. Rewind, watch again, and you're done. You don't need to watch anymore. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I'm going to have a few more things to say, so feel free to tune in and stick around. But honestly, that's the whole point. For those of you who don't know, Ron Barron is a truly legendary investor, multi-billionaire. He's done very well for himself through intelligent investing over a long career. He's got a great track record. Of course, in his early days, he made mistakes as all people do. He's learned from them. And he's really now, in my eyes, one of the best investors that are out there. The reason that I say this is because of the clarity of his thinking, his understanding about the future. He's really able to get through the noise and to discern the information versus the garbage that's out there. And I think that over the long term, over the next decade or so, they're going to see the returns that Ron generates in his funds absolutely decimate most others out there. I will put that on the record. I think he's going to outperform most other funds, no question. The reason that I'm showing you guys this clip, and I'll play a little bit more, is because this is something that occurred months ago on air where Ron was sharing some information that he had in private conversation with Elon Musk. This happens regularly. Now, I'm not sure how the relationship with Elon and Ron is. I know they're pretty close. There's a huge amount of investment from Ron's funds, so obviously they talk, but I don't know about the confidentiality. It seems often that Ron, in conversation, especially long-form interviews, occasionally will divulge information that probably wasn't meant to be made public. Now, I'm not saying that Elon said, hey, don't tell anybody about this, but very often you'll just hear these nuggets from Ron Barron where he shares something. It's like, damn, Elon said that to him? That's what he's planning? Shit. Why didn't Elon tell us this? So with that said, let's dive into the rest of the clip. I'll add a few comments here and there. Just want to once again reiterate, the whole point of this video is Ron is talking about what Elon told him about now, June 2020. Hey guys, if you'd like to get a free stock or two and help out the channel, and you're in the US, Australia, UK, or New Zealand, check out the links to WeBull and Stake in the description below. Let's get back to it.
You have been a longtime bull, a longtime believer in Tesla. Have you sold any of your position, or
None.
Did you hold all of it the entire time that it was down?
All of it.
And what did you think of the earnings yesterday?
Well, they were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stock had a huge run. I think short sellers lost about $1 billion just yesterday. However, short sellers since the beginning of the year still are up about 11%.
Yes.
Just based
so this is the whole idea about investing and seeing through what's happening at this point in time.
What a great nugget of wisdom there from Ron. If anyone missed that, he's talking about the whole point of investing, at least his style, and I agree completely. Long-term investing, trying to create wealth, not make a few dollars. It's all about seeing through what's happening today and beyond that into the future. Is this company executing? Are there plans being put into place? Is anything changing in the competitive landscape? What's happening with their technology? Are they continuing to innovate and disrupt? Are they evolving? Are they shrinking? Are they growing? What's happening in the future? It's very easy for people who are sitting at home watching CNBS or other networks like this. They just hear, oh no, sales are down, this is down, that blah, blah, blah. The CEO did this or that. People get blocked. They just can't see past that. This is why everyone's buying Tesla stock at $1,000 today, and less than a year ago, you're able to buy it in the 200s.
So they built a plant they bought a plant, so $1 billion plant in Fremont they paid. It was Toyota and General Motors bankrupted it, so they bought it for $50 million. $1 billion they bought for $50 million. And Elon walks in and says, well, this is great, I got this thing, but how does it work? What do we do here? And so it took them a while, but they weren't great at making cars initially in the plant, so they were overspent on how much they spent. And now the cost in China, the cost is about 70% less, 60-70% less to make a car in China than it was now. So if they were making, $50,000 cars where they're making $10,000 profits in the United States on an investment that was 2.5 or 3 times what they've invested in China, I think. And so the returns on investment should be going through the roof relatively soon.
If you're a little out of the loop, Tesla confirmed in a quarterly earnings report that they spent 65% less capital per unit of capacity in their Shanghai Gigafactory than the US. So Ron is right, this isn't speculation. We know for a fact that Tesla spent way less money getting the factory set up, the equipment, etc. to produce those vehicles. So no doubt, the profit margins on the made in China vehicles, the Model 3s made in China, are going to be better than those in the US, at least eventually. And we know from reports that the Gigafactory in Shanghai has almost fully ramped to its annual capacity of about 150,000 units per year. So keep this in mind. It's fully ramped effectively. It's been so for about the entire quarter, and these are very high margin vehicles, better than the US equivalents. Sounds like something good's around the corner to me.
Elon Musk on the conference call yesterday spoke about how the idea that he has is that they will be able to do in China 3 times as much in their facility that they're doing. He thinks he can do, he announced 20 million cars a year. He's doing 400,000. There's 90 million cars a year that are sold.
I really do love Ron. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that this is something that Elon told Ron in confidence, in private. He's probably not going to be too upset that it got out to the public. He's already talked in the past about Tesla being able to maintain a 50% rate of growth for, a decade or so, which would actually get Tesla to around that 20 million vehicles per year mark. But this isn't a fact that I think Elon really advertises, especially not on earnings calls, because analysts will be like, what? That's no chance. People doubt Elon too much, so one of these plans that I think he's kind of keeping quiet, but it's out there. We know that this is probably the long-term goal. Tesla's aiming at 10, 20 plus million vehicles per year. A huge chunk, like about a quarter of the entire annual vehicle market today. So I just wanted to point out, guys, that when you hear Ron mentioning things that Elon has told him in the past about future plans of Tesla, it's worth listening. I've heard many interviews with Ron where he's mentioned things that were going to occur, including about China's output being way more than people thought. Sure enough, as soon as the Model 3 line was done, it's like, oh, now we're going to double output to Model Y. Ron called that, and many other things as well. So when Ron has something to say about the future of Tesla, and it's come through Elon, it's definitely worth listening and taking that very seriously.
So the opportunity.
Sometimes he overpromises and underdelivers.
No, he always delivers. He doesn't deliver on time.
Okay.
He always delivers, just not on time so far.
That is a really fantastic point, and it's actually just something that I want to talk about too. I've heard many people in the past who've questioned Elon Musk's integrity, his honesty. They think that he's a liar, he's a fraud, he's dishonest, he makes up fake deadlines, etc. The man is as honest as you can possibly get. He may not be perfect in his predictions, but there's a reason for this. Imagine that you are developing something and there's 100 things that could go wrong, and each of those might delay your project by 5% onto how long it takes to get done. But then there's 3 things that could double the time that it takes to get that done. But they have a 0.5% chance of occurring. Very, very low, but possible. So when you're making predictions about things in the future and you have a lot of these type of landscapes to navigate, lots of low probability events, 1 or 2 things that can completely screw you and delay things enormously, and lots of other things that may or may not actually pop up, it is very hard to make accurate predictions of the future. And a huge mistake that a lot of investors, and I use that term loosely, people who don't actually take the time to understand, what did he mean? What was the intention behind this? Was he being deceptive, or is this just a really poor prediction? Elon Musk certainly makes predictions about technology and misses dates. That doesn't make him a dishonest person. That means he's really bad at predicting things in the future that are unknown. Fancy that. Can't predict things in the future because they're unknown. Geez. Well, I can kind of understand that. So please don't make the mistake of being somebody that assumes that Elon Musk is putting out fake deadlines or lying or being deceptive. He's not. He's wrong sometimes, but he always delivers. And a lot of people mistake this. They think that there's a character trait or some issues with his values, that he's not the kind of person that you can trust. No. Take his predictions and timelines with a grain of salt, sure. But he's a man of integrity. If he says he will do something, if he says he intends to do something, take him at his word. Here we are, the moment you've all been waiting for. Not really, you've already seen this clip. It was at the start of the video to save people time. But if you're still here, obviously you're enjoying this so far, or you're really lazy and haven't pressed the pause button. So what did Ron have to say about what Elon told him about right now, June 2020?
So I guess about 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, he said, Ron, next June, that's the time. So I've been an investor for 4 or 5 years, made relatively modest returns. And then he says, next June, that's when everything comes together. That's when we have the Y. The Y, he said, is going to do as much volume as the X, S, and 3 altogether. This one new car. So that one new car is going to do as much volume, and they're going to make initially the same margin, but ultimately a much higher margin on that than they are in everything else.
So, I mean, call me crazy, but I think it's reasonable to assume that Q2 2020 is where we're going to see the fruits of Tesla's labor in terms of their learnings between their US and their Chinese manufacturing facilities, and also the learnings that have come from Model 3 to Model Y. We know that the Model Y is already more profitable than the Model 3 was, and we know that the cars coming out of the production lines in China are way more profitable than those in the US. These 2 things combining in Q2, I think we might be in for a very positive surprise. Of course, anything's possible. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say there's a better than 50-50 chance now of Tesla actually printing a profit in Q2 despite the global show, the shutdown of the Fremont factory for more than a month of the quarter. So hope you guys have found this insightful. Again, it's just a single data point, but I thought personally it's one worth paying attention to. If you haven't seen my recent Q2 video, I'll put a link below. But the reason that I wanted to mention this just finally is that Elon on Twitter just a couple of days ago found this very clip and liked it. The very clip of Ron telling the world what Elon told him about now. Cool. I mean, maybe that's a total coincidence, but I wouldn't be so sure about that. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and Stake. Links below. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like to access exclusive videos, regular Q&As, behind the scenes content and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description, and you can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.